Hi, my name is Mike Baio with Bangert. In today's session, we're going to go through why you should be using the beta lists that are out in the Sage Intacct 2023 with release 3 that just came out. If you want to get more information on them, you can find them on your homepage here inside Intacct and look at the 2023 release 3 notes. And in there, among other things, you can come down and search for expanding beta for list enhancements. And there's a bunch of areas that they've expanded on the use of these new list views that you can use in the system. And we'll go through a little bit of examples today as to why you should be using them now in your system. But if you want to get more information, you can click List Enhancements. It gives you a list of where they are in your system now, and also a little video on it as well. So you can find that in the release notes. So you can see here where they are in the system. They're in vendors, attachments, attachment folders, and some different dimension areas. We're going to focus on two big areas here, vendors and attachments. And there's some features in here now that can make your life a little bit easier in Intacct today using these beta lists that can be turned on at any time. So let's take a look. So let's go take a look at vendors, depending on what entity you want to work in. I'm going to go into the GC Timberline General Construction for today. And if I go into the vendor list, I'm going to go into Applications, Accounts Payable, Vendors, and I'm going to click on the vendor name, and that will take me into the list. And so we get an idea of, here's kind of how the vendor list views look now in the system if you go into it right now today out of the box. And what we'll do is we'll leave this open like this, and I'm going to duplicate this tab by right mouse click, duplicate. And we're going to have two tabs here, and one of the tabs will, oh, sorry about that. One of the tabs will turn on the vendor list. Let's go back into here. And one of the lists will leave the old. So we'll keep into here and we'll leave the old view. So, you know, traditionally right now, if you want to modify or filter on this view, you can do some filtering on the individual columns, but it has to be exact from the beginning. So if I'm looking for vendors that start with Acme, I can type it in and I can do that, and it finds the two vendors. But what you can't do is if I want to find a vendor name that has the name door in it, if I hit enter, it doesn't find any because it's only looking for the door that's in there at the front. If you put a %, then door, that tells the system to go ahead and find wherever door is in the system. Okay, so they've enhanced this and made this a little bit easier. We'll show you that. And now the other scenario is you have these views here. And the manage views works great in the system. Now you can create your own views. You might want to see vendors with just balances, open balances, maybe particular type of vendor, and you can create and manage these different views in the system. In order to do that, you can't really do that right from the screen. You have to go into Manage Views. You have to create a new view or save the view as. So I can say Save View As, and I'll just call it my vendors with balances. Okay, and then you have to flip to that view. And then you can go into Manage Views and you can edit. And what it will do now is take you through a wizard where you can pick your columns that you want to add. You can pick how you want your column sequences to be, you know, your filters. So it's very, you know, kind of step by step, which is nice. But what they've done in this new version is giving you the ability to make it a lot more interactive. So if we go over to the other tab here, same view, and we turn on the list beta interface. So you'll see this if it's available on the list. Okay, so if I click that, that's going to turn on a whole different modern vendor list view for you to use. So eventually they'll be rolling these out as a standard down the road, but now you'll notice it just looks a lot more interactive and modern. Now, if I want to search on the door in the vendor name, I don't have to do anything. This search now says contains. So I can just type in door, and that's going to do what I needed a percent sign before. The other thing they've done is really enhanced the capabilities for each column. So right in the column, I can hit on the filter button right here, and I can say starts with. So if I still want to do starts with door, I can do that right here. Equals to, not equal to is not blank. You know, if you're looking for a vendor list, maybe that you're missing email address for, stuff like that. It's very interactive per column heading. You can sort it very easy by clicking on it. And then you also have some options here in the settings wheel where if you click on it, now you can do some sorts. And this is a really nice new feature. I can freeze the column and I can wrap the text. So I can freeze the vendor name column and I can do text wrapping. So now I can actually make that column smaller, and then you'll see how the text now wraps. Okay, and that's pretty cool. So you can do that type of stuff in the system. What you can also do is it's interactive. So if you're looking to select vendors, but then also edit or make changes on that vendor record, I'm going to unfreeze this. I can come into here now and I can hit this view button here. It's called the split view. And I can hit this split view. And what the split view allows me to do is see the actual individual records as I'm going through the vendor list. So if I want to say AA Electric, now I can see my actual setup screen without having to double click on an open, go back to another window, go back to another window. Adams Electric, okay, I can still create on the fly. And if I need to, I can edit on this vendor as well. Now I believe I'm on the wrong, this was set up with top level, so let's go back to the top level. Sorry about that. And we'll try that again. Accounts payable, vendors. I'm still in my view, so it stays turned on until you decide to turn it off. And I'm going to get my split view here. And if I go back to this vendor, you'll notice I'll be able to edit it. So right from there, I can edit it and make changes to that vendor, save it, and it wants vendor terms. I didn't have vendor terms on here, so that's in additional information. I'm sorry, that's in payment information terms. Fill in my terms, hit save. So what's really nice is maybe with the new compliance, if you're going through your vendors and you're filling out your vendor compliance information, maybe your insurance information, you can kind of, keep going back and forth on that if you want to. So that split screen view is very handy. And what I like best is the ability to manage these views. So I can save as here. I can also hit filter and create it right here as well. And right here on the fly, I don't have to go into that wizard anymore. I can change my sorts and I can configure my columns. So if I want to add columns, I can click configure columns. This is much more user-friendly than we saw in the prior version. I could just add a column by checking off the 1099 box, apply, and now that column is on my inquiry, and I can just move that around right there if I want to. And now I can save that as a new view, and I can call it 1099 vendor settings or something like that. And I can save that. Okay. So now you'll see that the 1099 view is on that settings, but if I want to switch back to all, it's gone. Okay, so you can make individual views and then you can decide if they should be a system view or a user-specific view. So if this is just a user-specific view for myself, you can make it user-specific or you can roll it out to the whole company if you want to. Okay, all of this stays for the beta. So even if I turn it off, And if I turn it back on, all my different views remain in there for me. Okay. So these views become extremely handy. I would use them, and I would definitely provide some feedback. They are looking for it, and it is what's going to be in the product in the next couple of releases as they roll it out and test it more and more. So another big area in release 3, they expanded it to the attachments area. And if you're doing a lot of attaching inside Intacct, if you're attaching files to jobs and vendors and invoices and all over the place, maybe HR for employee documents, the attachment list can get pretty big. So attachments are going to be in company, and they're going to be under storage. And you do have the ability to have what's called attachment folders. So, when you create an attachment in the system, you could determine which folder it goes into for sorting purposes. So this is without the beta. You can come in and you could set up your own folders. Actually, I am going to go into my Timberline Construction Company for this one. And in here, I can create my own folders. Okay, so, I got some examples of screenshots, forms, AP bills. You might have employee, HR, attachment documents, things like that. So you can create these folders and subfolders. But now, using the beta list for attachments, so if I flip over and if I want to see all of my attachments in the system, I do have an attachments. This is going to show me all the attachments, and you'll notice there's 3 pages of them, 86 attachments, and they're all different types with names. So you can filter through the names and the folders, but with this beta list here, it comes really, really handy to make your own little filing cabinets for your attachments. So what I like to do is I like to make individual views based on the folder, and maybe even have different columns based on that view. So for example, let's create a new view. I'm just going to save it as, and I'm going to call this, what is the one that, forms. Company forms. And I'm going to click save. And then I'm simply going to put a filter on here where it says equals Intacct forms. Apply. Okay. And now I'm going to save this view. And now I made a company form. And I can also share that. So if I want to share it, I can make it public so everybody sees it. Save it. And now you'll notice that shows up, well, when I refresh here. Actually, that'll still be in user, but it'll be in a public. You notice it doesn't have the secured on there, so I can hit, everybody will be able to see that. So now I can see my attachments that are related to my company forms, and I can configure and sort the columns and do all that. So vice versa, I can come in and let's go back to my all view, and now I also might want to see just AP bills that have been scanned in and attached. So you can do the same thing, filter equals AP bills, apply, and I'm going to save it as, and we're going to call it AP bill attachment, AP bills. Just call it AP bills. And again, do I want to make that public or not? I'll say share, I'll make it public. And I don't think my filter stuck on that one, so let's go back into here. Try that again, equals AP bills. There it goes. Okay, there's my AP bills, and I'll save that as well. And then you could determine, I like this, you can see how many records you want to show per page. I'll say 500. And I only have 7 items. But now I can get into any AP bill. And then you might want to configure columns and see what else you can have show here on this record as well. Okay. And then if you want to go into them, you can go into it. And what's nice again is it has a split screen when you click on it, and then you can actually click your PDF from there. So you can also, once you establish them, you can also have them be available on dashboards and things like that. So these views are there. Go ahead and turn them on and use them now. And I think you're going to find the ability to filter and sort is going to just be much more intuitive for you when you're in these. And now it's, I can quickly get to my company forms if I need to, and then I could, search on the name, certified form, and there's my certified payroll form. Okay. So I would say go ahead and use these. Again, you can turn them off at any time, provide your feedback. And again, if you want to find out exactly where they are, you will notice that if you're in any of the lists, if you see this over here on the right, you'll be able to turn it on and go ahead and use it now and keep it on. Keep it on for you, and I think you'll start seeing more and more of this come in as new releases come out. So go ahead and play with it and get comfortable with it. And remember to put any comments or questions in here below, and like and subscribe for us. And I appreciate you following us today. Looking forward to chatting with you again. Thank you.